Okay, friends, can you believe it? I'm now about to bring to you my 20th episode of Wide World of Game Shows. And what better way to celebrate 20 episodes than by talking about America's Game. And what's America's Game? The game with letters, consonants, vowels, a $5,000 space, and various things and prizes and what have you. And of course, Vanna White. Yes, you know what this is. Let's talk about Wheel of Fortune. Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews presents Wide World of Game Shows. Greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to the Wide World of Game Shows, a show, little something created by yours truly, me, Doll, the Big D to y'all, from Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So today's episode, which is my 20th episode, and I'm about to tackle America's Game itself. And it's a show that's been around for a long time, since the 70s. A game where you can spin your way to win tons of money, and I don't know what have you, as long as you don't lose a turn or go bankrupt. So, without further ado, I bring to you the one, the only Wheel of Fortune! That's right, I'm talking about Wheel of Fortune. A game that was often known simply as Wheel, premiered in 1975, created by Merv Griffin. It features a competition in which contestants solve word puzzles similar to those used in Hangman to win cash and prizes determined by spinning a giant carnival wheel. Anyway, now let me see. Let me get to this here. Well, it's tough to figure out how it all got started. Okay, here it is. The show originally started in January of 1975 on NBC. Well, replacing another game that Griffin had done, Jeopardy, which of course, along with Wheel, it's still a going. Anyway, the original Wheel aired on NBC in varying time slots between 10:30 and noon until June of 1989. Throughout that version's run, episodes were generally 30 minutes in length, except for 6 weeks of shows aired between December 75 and January 76, which were a full hour. Anyway, NBC announced the cancellation of the show in August of 1980, but it stayed on the air following a decision to cut the duration of the David Letterman show from 90 to 60 minutes. Then, after NBC canceled it, it moved to CBS in July of 1989 and lasted until January of 91. After that, it briefly returned to NBC, replacing Let's Make a Deal, but was canceled permanently on September 20th of that year. Now, the current syndicated nighttime version premiered in September of 1983. Now, from its debut, the syndicated version offered a larger prize budget than its network counterpart. The show came from humble beginnings, King World, who distributed the show originally before Sony took over the rights, the distribution rights. Anyway, the show to this day has become one of the longest running game shows ever. And that along with Jeopardy, which followed a year later. Now, I would also get a children's version in September of 97 called Wheel 2000, which I'll talk about that in maybe a future Saturday morning TV log, since that aired on Saturday mornings along with the kids' version of Jeopardy known as Jep. I might think of doing those for future Saturday morning TV logs, maybe. But we'll see. Then in November of 2020, ABC ordered a primetime spin-off called Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, which is still airing to this day. Anyway, Now then. Now, let's see here. Okay, yes. Now, originally, when Wheel of Fortune started, the network version was originally hosted by Chuck Woolery, who would later go on to host game shows like Love Connection and Scrabble. Yes, as well as Lingo, which was originally shown on Game Show Network. He left in 1981 and was replaced by Pat Sajak, who is still the show's host to this very day, even in the syndicated version, and has become the longest running game show host ever, surpassing Bob Barker. Now, however, in 1989, Sajak left the network version in 89 to host his own late night talk show while remaining as host of the Nighttime Wheel. He was then replaced in the daytime version by Rolf Bennershik. I can't mispronounce that name. Who was in turn replaced by Bob Goen when the network show moved to CBS, in which Goen, of course, best known for being on Entertainment Tonight, he recently hosted a short-lived game show on CBS before this called Blackout. Anyway, Goen remained as host for the second NBC run as well. Now, the show had a big board on screen where a woman had to turn the letters. Now, originally, it was Susan Stafford who remained on the show until 1982 and was replaced by Vanna White. Anyway, who of course recently was a contestant on The Price is Right a couple of years before this, but she was in contestants row all the way through the show. You can actually find the full episode of that on YouTube if you want to see. Anyway, to this day, Sajak and White have remained the hosts of the nighttime version since it started in 1983. Now, the show had 4 announcers. The most notable one was the late Charlie O'Donnell, who originally did the first few years for the Chuck Woolery run from 1975 to 1980. And then Jack Clark, who had recently done announcing for CBS's Telltales for the first few years and other games, did it from 1980 to 1988. And then M.G. Kelly took over in 1988 to 89. But in 89, O'Donnell returned to do the announcing, since O'Donnell would later go on to do, after he left Wheels, after his first few years of announcing, he would go on to do the announcing for games for rival company Barry and Enright, where he would announce games like The Joker's Wild, Tic-Tac-Toe, Bullseye, and Hot Potato. And he would do that until 2010, I think, before he passed away. And Jim Thornton is now the current announcer to this day. So anyway, this show has had more episodes than you could ever imagine since it started in syndication. It ranks as the longest running syndicated game show in the U.S. with over 7,000 episodes taped and aired as of May of 2019. Yes. Now that that's out of the way. Now, of course, the main game is based on Hangman. Each round has a category and a word puzzle, where if it's a person, place, thing, or I don't know, what have you. Now, they'd also go on to add other other things like event or before and after, or just about lots of other things. Mostly puzzles are figures of speech, although crossword puzzles were added to the rotation in 2016, which explains why I haven't been watching the show much. But I still have respect for the show, however. Now, in such rounds, a clue bonding the words in the puzzle is given instead of a traditional category. Contestants win by solving all the words in the crossword by saying them in any order, but contestants may not repeat or add any words such as "and" while solving the crossword. Now, the titular Wheel of Fortune is a roulette-style wheel with 24 spaces, most of which are labeled with dollar amounts ranging from $500 to $900 plus a top dollar value and what have you. They add more stuff and what have you. Now, there was also a free spin spot, which was one of the wedges on there until it was added as a little chip and what have you. And you can hold on to it, and if by any chance you don't miss an answer, or I think if then you gotta give it. You can give it and use it to spin again. Okay. Now, but be careful though. Your biggest concerns are the lose a turn spot and two wedges with the terrible bankrupt, both of which forfeit the contestant's turn, with the former also eliminating any cash or prizes the contestant has accumulated within the round. Anyway, yeah. After that, in the earlier episodes, you can use your money to pick prizes and what have you, which is really something. Later on, they changed that, and then later on they add toss-ups before each puzzle. Whoever buzzes in will get a certain amount of money and what have you. Now, with each round, they actually give a special, kind of a sparkly like piece, like $3,500 or $5,000. Yeah. Anyway, now after a few rounds, if the final round is called the final spin, if you hear a bell ringing, that means Pat will do it, and I'd say Chuck did too. I haven't seen much of the original of his run of wheel, you know. But anyway, he'll give the final spin, then he'll ask for the contestant to give him a letter. They have 5 seconds to solve it, and it'll stop on the spot, and there'll be amounts. On rare occasions, it has stopped at the big ones. To this day, I think they still do it. They'll double that amount by adding an additional $1,000 to that point. So if you get maybe if it's on a low one that's 200, no problem. It'll be 1,200. But if it hits on like the big 5,000, then it's up to 6,000. Isn't that incredible? I'd say yes. Yes. Anyway, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Now there's also the mystery wedges. Calling a correct letter on one offers the chance to accept its face value of $1,000 per letter or forfeit that amount to flip over the wedge and see where its reverse side contains a $10,000 cash prize or bankrupt. Once either mystery wedge is flipped over, the other becomes a standard $1,000 space and cannot be flipped. Also, here's another thing. Here's some other things. There's also the jackpot round. If you can guess it, if the jackpot keeps filling out and you guess it within the jackpot wedge, then you win the big jackpot, which that's really something. Another thing is Wheel of Fortune is also best known for its little puzzle intro jingle. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, that sound. Now, later on in the series, if you hear a little light version of that, kind of an echo, that indicates that the next puzzle is a prize puzzle. Now, it's mostly a trip, and it usually relates to the answer to the puzzle, as a matter of fact. Now, again, I haven't really watched Wheel much, but hey, I still have respect for it. They've changed lots of things lately. After whoever wins, will get all their prizes and what have you. Now, the bonus round will come up later on. Well, big bonus round where they can win things and what have you. Now, later on, they would add maybe Now, I think it was the 90s or so, early 90s, and they had the letters in the form of the word wheel. and each has an envelope. It might contain maybe a trip, could be the big $25,000 in cash, or could be something even better like a car. Now then, now originally for the bonus round, you have to try and pick. You had to pick 5 consonants and a vowel originally. Later on, it was changed. Once as the puzzles revealed and what have you, I'll get to that later. As of now, they use a smaller wheel with 24 envelopes to determine the prize. Once it stops, the contestant will get the envelope, hand it over to Pat, and then you'll go on to see the puzzle. Now, they'll start out with the 5 usual consonants that most contestants pick, which are R, S, T, L, and N, and a vowel being E. Now, once those are because later on they changed the board to a more of a computerized touched one and what have you. Then you give 3 more consonants and 1 more vowel. And if you can't get your answer correctly before the 10-second time limit's over with, you win. But if not, then, well, you might be in for a rude shock or something if you lost something really big, like a car, maybe even bigger money, bigger than $25,000, you know. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Okay, yes, I'm seeing the jackpot wedge. That's no longer used. That was done in 2013. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Yeah. hmm Yeah, and a permanent bonus round was never used until December of 1981. So that's that. So now you know and what have you. And well, I've seen lots of people win big at Wheel of Fortune. Sometimes they lost, and I can't feel too bad for them. But anyway, Wheel of Fortune's been so successful, it's gone to put out board games as well as video games. I've actually played I played a couple of them. I played the game for the original Nintendo, which was from Game Tech and developed by the British developer Rare, who of course gave us the Wizards and Warriors games as well as the Battletoads series, the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and Killer Instinct. Let's see, and of course, GameTech also did games for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. I have the deluxe edition of Wheel of Fortune, which features Vanna White, who actually appeared in the last Nintendo game. Now, Vanna White would actually appear in later ports of the games, starting with that NES game and go on for Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and to other ports. Now, later on, they would bring Pat Sajak on board when the game got released on the Nintendo Wii and other consoles. So anyway, yeah, really something. And I really did get to enjoy those. I have seen plays of those games, and they look pretty cool. So anyway, that's about it. That's about all I can tell you about Wheel of Fortune. It's just one of, if not one of the greatest games there ever was. I may not have the time to watch it, but again, I do have respect for the game, and I know it's had some issues and what have you. I'm pretty sure you already know about something that's happened a few years back, but I don't want to get onto that subjects like that. Thank you. But anyway, we hope for the best that the wheel keeps us spinning, and hopefully it'll keep bringing in a new audience and what have you. Oh yeah, well I'm not part of this. They also have a Wheel Watchers Club, and well, when they do a prize puzzle, I don't think they do this anymore. But you can go onto the Wheel of Fortune website, and they announce your ID number. You got yourself the same prize, which that's pretty cool. But anyway, now you know about Wheel of Fortune. I know a lot of you know all about it, so enough said. So, what do you think? What do you think? Do you still watch Wheel of Fortune, or if you don't watch it, do you still have some respect for that? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this, click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and be a part of the Big D Nation. And join me next time when I bring to you my ranking of the Season 4 Zoomers from the original Zoom. Thanks for watching, and I'll have another episode of the Wide World of Game Shows coming up sometime down the road. Details to follow, possibly in my next schedule of it. If I have some room, okay? Alright, so thanks for watching, and if you like this, check out my vids for these other big games. In the upper left hand corner is the episode I did for The Price is Right. The upper right hand corner is the episode I did for Let's Make a Deal, or go to the bottom left hand corner and see the previous Wide World of Games episode on the Newlywed Game, which that's already gotten a lot of views. Very impressive. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe if you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., as well as the Wide World of Game shows. Then I'm your guy. And please help me get back to 400 subscribers. Please. Okay, that about covers it. So until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.